What's up, my dudes? Crashcross, bro. Say that 10 times fast, dude. Crashcross, 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 Sasquatch. Oh my god. Oh, let's see if Swincy Boy can pull the whole shot with the Stanton out here. My 4-stroke, 2-stroke, 450, 250, 2-stroke, 500 Honda CR 500 250 4-banger. Oh, milestone. You're something else, I tell you. Either way, I had to come in here and make a video recapping the St. Louis Supercross race. This is actually a custom track replica of it on Supercross 5. You can find this if you have this game on PC. If you go to the newest custom tracks, it's like 2 or 3 pages over to the right, and you can find it on there, or you can probably just type it in the search. St. Louis 2022 on PC, and there is a full-blown, pretty damn good replica. I would say this is a pretty good replication of the 2022 St. Louis for what you can do in the track editor of Supercross 5, what you can and can't do, if you know what I'm saying, bro. So either way, boy, oh boy, I felt like it was just time for me to come in here and make a video on this particular thing because, man, I feel like I say this a lot, like through the different Supercross years, but I swear this one seems like in 2022 we're having more of the bigger factory riders have massive, multiple massive crashes this year. I mean, how many do I have to name? Just in this St. Louis race, Dean Wilson hit the finish line. Malcolm Stewart crashed in the... I can't even remember where Malcolm Stewart crashed, but he got his handlebars stuck in his knee brace or something, hurt his knee. Hampshire crashed in the whoops. Mika Duty crashed earlier and wasn't even able to race in it. Pro Circuit Monster Energy Kawasaki is cursed apparently now. Cianciarulo's not there because of crashes. Webb's not there because of crashes. Plessinger's not there because of crashes. Ferrandis is not there because of crashes. Roxon pulled out of the series. Sexton's had 5 million crashes this year. Who else? I mean, it literally seems like just about everybody. Barcia's had crashes out the ass this year. Even dudes like Shimoda have had crashes. Oh shit, Toughies. Them Toughies will reach out and get you, bro. Gotta be careful, bro. Oh my god, I keep jumping sideways. I don't know what I'm doing here. This damn, this Honda 450, 250, 2-smoke, 5-smoke is hauling ass, dude. So, dude popped off in the whoops right there. Look. Can I get the replay? Oh my god, look at this shit. Watch right here. This dude popped right off, but I guess he's not now. Oh, I saved your life, bro. Saved your life, bro. Either way, I think a lot of people instantly want to blame, the tracks. Like, oh my god, they're making the whoops so much bigger. They're making the tracks so much harder, and that's taking out all of the riders, and shit like that. My own personal opinion with that, I just don't look at it that way. I don't blame the track builders. That just seems a little bit silly to me. Are they making the tracks all that much more difficult now than they were? I mean, maybe from the past couple years, but bro, I remember back in the Villapoto days, they had some gnarly ass tracks. I mean, just remember the triple transition where Villapoto broke his leg, okay? There were gnarly tracks back then, dude. I don't necessarily think it's so much like they're all of a sudden making the tracks so much different than they've ever made them before. I think it's more like I think one aspect of it is all the riders are back in full capacity stadiums, so that sort of adds that next level of excitement and, you know, kind of pressure on all the guys again. Obviously, I think we're reaching like peak four-stroke potential. You've heard Anderson talk about, like, you know, if they didn't have the peaked out transitions, then you could literally jump an 80-foot triple, you know, right out of a corner on those 450s. So, you know, I think it's almost like if they made the tracks easier, they would just go faster on it and crash even more on it. You see what I'm saying? Or at least crash the same amount. I don't really think it's the... I really just don't think it's the tracks. And, you know, it's one of those things. You got to understand. These dudes at the top of the... Especially like on the factory teams, the full-blown factory team guys, these boys are riding dirt bikes every motherfucking day. They've been riding dirt bikes every day for their whole life. You know, it starts to get to a point where it's like, can you really blame the tracks when those sort of dudes crash on it? Not really. And you might be asking yourself, well, what are you saying, Spencer? Are you blaming the riders? Well, yeah, I kind of am, in a sense. Because guess what? Tomac has not crashed at all this year. Literally at all this year. So you can't sit here and tell me, well, every single person is crashing on it, because that's just not true. You know, that's just not true. Tomac has not really had any kind of major crash this year at all. And he did have some bigger crashes in the previous Supercross season. So, you know what I'm saying, bruh? It's like, I really feel like a lot of these dudes that are on these factory teams, it's like, and of course, obviously, it's easy for me to sit here and say that sitting on the couch eating tater chips, okay? Let me restart this here. You know, obviously, that's easy for me to say. I'm not wide open through those cupped out whoops that they're going through and shit. Would I weed myself on them? Yes. But again, I don't ride dirt bikes every single day, and I've not been doing that every single day my whole life, and that's not my occupation, okay? So... Oh my God, boys pushing wide out here. Holy shit. But what I'm trying to get at with that, though, is I feel like it gets to a point with these factory dudes where it's like either they need to learn how to tone it down in the more difficult parts of the track, or when the track gets chewed up more in certain parts, they need to either learn how to tone it down or they're gonna wreck. I mean, I don't know what else to say to that. Like, I really feel like it's a matter of these really fast factory dudes. They need to find their limit again. I really think that's a big part of it right there. Like, Chase Sexton needs to find his limit. Justin Barcia's never gonna find his limit. I don't know if Malcolm Stewart's ever gonna really find his limit. Jason Anderson is trying to kind of find his limit. Tomac has found his limit. Do you see what I'm kind of getting at here? It's like, and you know, you got to remember, Cooper Webb had that crazy crash where he flipped over on his back on the triple, like, what was that, like 2 years ago or some shit? So, you know, it does kind of seem like everybody is crashing this year. But, I mean, I really don't... I think it's more of the riders than it is the track designs. I think it's more of the riders, the bikes, the speeds the speeds they can go on these 450s, and everybody switching teams, going to new bikes, you know? Malcolm Stewart's on a brand new bike. Jason Anderson's on a brand new bike. Plessinger's on a brand new bike. Technically, Webb's on a brand new bike because that KTM's brand spanking new. It's a new, longer model or whatever, right? And of course, Tomac is also on a new bike, but he's not crashing. I'm trying to think. Barcia's not been on that gas for that long. But I mean, Barcia, you know, you kind of got to expect Barcia to have his crazy crash moments anyways. But It's just like, I don't know. I feel like when you get to that full-blown factory level with these guys, they should know their limits enough to where it shouldn't matter how hard they make the track. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't be one of those things where the track makers have to limit the difficulty of the track for the pro riders not to hurt themselves on it. It should be more of a case of the pro riders should have the knowledge and the experience to limit theirself on the track regardless of how hard it's built, to prevent themselves from crashing and knowing their limits and knowing where they can and can't push. That's more like what I feel like it is. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like these tracks are so much more homogenized. The way they build the jumps and the whoops and all this type of shit, they know what they're getting into. You know, it's not anywhere near as varied or as hard to practice on as it would have been back in the days where they didn't have all the training test tracks like they do now. You know, the tracks were built a little bit more random. I mean, I would argue that, like, the tracks have been very easy in Supercross for the past few years compared to what they have overall been. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say here is I don't have any problem with the way they made the St. Louis Supercross track. I mean, yeah, it broke down quite a bit. Yeah, it did. But, I mean, if it didn't break down like that, and it didn't have the crazy kickered out transitions, and the whoops didn't get cupped out like they did, well, then you would just have the dudes in the 450 class hitting 5 jump ins or quad ins on rhythm sections. They'd be doing like quad 5.5s, or they'd be going through the whoops in fucking 4th gear on a 450 just tapped out. You tell me how much more they're going to hurt themselves going that much faster on it. Do you know what I'm saying? But when you get to, like, let's say the more so like privateer level 250 dudes. Whoops. Why do I keep hitting that? I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I keep hitting that right bumper. But anyways, yeah, like when you're talking about like the 250 privateer dudes that don't necessarily make it to the main event, I mean, yeah, it's just expected for those kind of guys to crash on certain tracks or certain whoop sections or whatever. But, like, we've obviously seen a lot of these top factory level dudes crash this year. And, I mean, I think it's just a combination of everything. It's the bikes, it's the team changes, it's the full capacity stadiums again, it's everybody getting back into the super hype of Supercross again, it's the excitement of it all, it's the parity, it's how many top factory dudes we have in the 450 class. It's kind of all of that. Do you know what I mean? I think it's a combination of all that. But I'm not a big fan of when they go in there and they make a track not even necessarily easier, but just like a lot more simple rhythm-wise or whatever. Or, like, I'm not the biggest fan when they all get out there in single file line and then they race through the entire race like they're racing in NASCAR or something, and they're like single file line throughout the entire main event and nobody passes anybody because the track is too, like, everybody's hitting everything the exact same way. I don't like that kind of shit. I don't know. Some people try to call that like close racing. Not really. I don't subscribe to that sort of mentality when they're all single file line throughout the entire main event and you could throw a blanket over the top 10 throughout the entire main event. The problem is a lot of times on those specific tracks, they're single file line and they don't even pass each other. You might have one pass throughout the entire main event or whatever. But what I'm trying to get at is when they make the tracks more difficult, they break down more, it really separates the men from the boys. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of shit I like. That's the whole point of having pro Supercross, is separating the men from the boys. So, people are calling it Death Cross, people are calling it, whatever. I mean, bruh, it's like these dudes are pro Supercross racers for a reason. Okay? if they can't keep themselves from crashing on these Supercross tracks, they need to rethink their shit. They need to either set their bike up differently, slow the fuck down a little bit. I think we've kind of lost sight of, there is a limit to how fast you need to go. I think a lot of these, especially some of these younger dudes that's not really done it yet, like Sexton and Cianciarulo and some of these guys that are really trying to prove themselves, even Malcolm Stewart, really trying to prove themselves. They don't give a fuck about if they're going to crash or not. It's literally just wide the fuck open and that's it. Let's try to win. But they need to find their balance again. They need to find their feet again when it comes to all that. It's like, bro, you got to do that. Like, and that's not Dirtworks' fault. That's not the track maker's fault. I just don't believe that. I believe, yes, there was that one occasion. Do you guys remember Daytona like a year or two ago? I can't even remember the exact year, but you guys remember that one whoop section they had super peaked out in that one, I think it was like one of the 250 heat races, and literally like half of the field flipped over in the whoops on the first lap. I'm sure a lot of you guys remember that moment. Literally, I'm not kidding you, like 10 dudes flipped over in that whoop section. And then they went out there and mellowed out the whoops a little bit for the rest of the races that night. That's okay if they want to do that. I don't have any big problem with that. If they have a certain section that is literally taking out half of the field in one lap, yes, there is the extreme occasion where a certain section or a certain way that the speed they can hit something or whatever will cause damn near half of the field to crash on it, okay? But, like, this St. Louis track was certainly not, like, too difficult or too crazy difficult. The whoop section, they could just get a lot of speed into it, coming off of that tabletop on-off before it, but it's like, still yet, Chad Reed went out there and hit that shit wide open on a 252 stroke from way back in 2002. You know what I mean? It's like, come on now, guys. I mean, I really do think it's just and of course they were smooth and prepped and all that shit, but Chad Reed's not really been racing either. So it's like, especially these factory level dudes that do this shit all day, every day, there really ain't no excuse for those kind of guys to be crashing, as much as they have this year. It's not the tracks. It's not the tracks. I'm just telling you that right now. It's not the tracks. It's either they've gotten used to shit that's way easier, way too easy at their test track or from the past couple years of Supercross. You know what I'm saying? I've been ready for AMA Supercross to bring back a little bit more of the bigger jump rhythms, stewable rhythms. Just remember the shit James Stewart used to hit back in 2014, 2013, okay? I just don't believe that, oh my God, they're making the tracks so much more difficult than they were. I just don't believe that. I think it's more of a case of they weren't really making the tracks as difficult as they could have the past 2 or 3 years. So now that they are bringing back a little bit of that difficulty, it seems like all of a sudden, oh man, they're making it too difficult. But I just don't believe that shit. I don't believe it. So, either way, definitely let me know down in the comments what you guys think. That's my opinion on it, and I'm sticking to it, bro. It's supposed to be Supercross for a reason, okay? I understand you want to keep the riders as safe as possible to keep them racing in the series as long as possible. But again, you start making the shit easier, and they're just going to go faster. Or if you make it like super one-lined and super one-rhythmed, then it's not going to be as fun to watch on TV. And I hate to say it, but we got to keep it real out here. The crashes and the flipovers and the takeouts and all that type of shit is a big part of what makes Supercross as exciting as it is. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's part of what makes it exciting. There's no roll cage. There's no, you know, it's like, oh my God, these dudes are jumping high in the sky, you know, on their dirt bikes, hauling ass. Oh man, are they going to crash? Are they going to flip over? Like, that's part of what creates the excitement of Supercross. So you've got to be careful when you start going down that mentality of, let's just make the track so easy that nobody ever crashes ever. You know, that you got to be really careful when you start going down that sort of mindset and that sort of road, because then you're going to take away everything that makes Supercross what it is. You know, these factory dudes need to learn their limits on the 450. They need to learn their limits when these tracks start getting really chewed up. And I think that's really more of what it is than anything. You know, I honestly believe that at the end of the day. But either way, man, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Be sure and go follow me up on Instagram, Spencer Turley, no spaces and no capital letters. And I'll see you boys on that next one. Later, dudes.